Anybody in here born before 1979?
Oh,
You know what?
no.
No.
Well in the 90s.
Spartan great, man. Forever Sparty, right?
Forever.
He got the shirt on and everything, man.
Yeah.
He came in repping. You know what? All of us are Michigan guys except for JB Smoove in the TD booth. He wore his Spartan hat today as well to represent. So
All right.
I'm glad to have you on. We're going to pay some bills, and when we get back, we're going to talk to the legend, Greg Kelser. I can't wait.
Yes,
I can't
sir.
wait. Got to get your opinion. You were there yesterday. It was good to see you. But first, let me tell you about something that's almost as awesome as Greg Kelser. It's when a guy can be a guy and get an amazing haircut. That is Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. All you got to do is stop and sit back. I'm pumped up.
How can you not
I should
be?
have had the
How can you
bat
not be?
and the chain. Like, I'm fired up. I'm fired up. We got Greg Kelser in the building, man. Hey, listen, we do the drum roll for Rob Beard, but I need a round of applause. You guys better do it at home as well for the legend, Greg Kelser. Thank you, brother, for giving us
You
your
guys
time.
know how to welcome a guy.
Hey, listen, man, we appreciate you giving us your time and being here with us today. You do a lot. It's not just what you are as a basketball player, who you've been at the collegiate level, pro level, as well as an analyst for years now as well, which is probably where a lot of us know and love you from as well. It's also who you are as a person and your attention to detail in the community. That's something that stuck with me. I've covered the Pistons now 3.5 years, seeing you at the events like Holworth Park dedication, where the Pistons went through the community and redid, 60 courts and 44 parks, if I remember correctly. St. Cecilia's Gym, the restoration of not just the gym, but that block and the impact that it has in the community as well. This is what your legacy is, and I'm grateful that you're able to give us your time here this morning, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. You got a wonderful setup here, and you can feel the enthusiasm that you guys all share the moment you walk in. So
Thank you.
pleasure to be here. I'll try and not bring you down.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank
Definitely
you.
not.
You know what? Definitely not, man. You're at the media center, in the media room. You're one of those guys that just kind of bring a smile to everybody's face, man. So it's awesome to see that it's not just what happens in front of the cameras, but also off the cameras as well. But Earl Kuron passed away earlier this year in February. Another one of those guys who was deep in the community, loved Detroit with a passion, and gave. He showed it. He wore it on his sleeve, man. He gave his all, but he passed away. And you guys, especially doing the community stuff, were thick as thieves. I wanted you to be able to just share a few words on Earl Kuron.
Yeah, Earl and I met in the summer of 1973. We were both 15 years old. We were trying out for the Detroit youth team, which was a team that would travel and represent the city of Detroit in the National Youth Games, which were held that year in Birmingham, Alabama. So we were trying out for the team, and we met. We became good friends, and Earl played at Finney High School. I played at Detroit Henry Ford High School. We actually played against each other in high school. But there was always a camaraderie there. I always pulled for him, cheered for him. He did the same for me. When he left to go to Robert Morris University and then the University of Detroit, I was a big fan. He always checked in on me when I was at Michigan State. He was thrilled when we won the championship in 1979. I was equally as thrilled for him when he won 2 championships in the NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Houston Rockets. My basketball camps, which started in 1978, Earl was right there with us. He was sort of like a co-owner, if you will, because he was so passionate about the kids, and he was very integral to our success with the basketball camps that are still running now, 46 years later. We miss him dearly, and so much so that we're dedicating this summer of basketball camps to Earl Kuron. His number and his initials EC will be on the shirts, and we'll talk to the kids about Earl and remind them of his commitment to their development.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear. We when he passed away, we honored him on the show. He did a lot for me over the years as well, getting me comfortable on the beat. So that's awesome to hear. Your basketball camps, you're looking to continue kind of this legacy of impacting kids in the community as well. Tell me about these basketball camps that are coming up.
It started for me in 1977. I actually worked the Bob Lanier, Dick Vitale basketball camp at West Bloomfield High School that summer, and it was a tremendous camp. And I remember the thing I took away, we always tell the kids, take something away other than basketball. Take something away that maybe you did not have when you entered the building on Monday, you depart the building on Friday. And if it's only basketball that you can speak of, then somehow we've missed the boat. We can do far more than that. Well, I did that. I experienced that for myself, because when I went into that camp on Monday in 1977, I went in as a counselor, as a coach. And my responsibility was to the kids and to teach and instruct them on the fundamentals of basketball. But I walked out of there thinking, I can do this too. So I began to think in that direction, and the very next year I had my own basketball camp. And as I said, it's still here 46 years later. The thing that we try to do, but I'll say this, our camp has evolved a lot over the many years. It's truly not just basketball. We have all kinds of exercises and experiences at the camps, from classroom activity, where we encourage the kids to put the same energy that they utilize out on the court into becoming better basketball players, use that in the classroom to become better students, because ultimately your most success is going to be rooted in the foundation that you provide educationally for yourself. So we encourage that. We have, kids always love to see basketball players come in, so we have some of that. We never know who our special guests are going to be that stop by and talk to the kids. But we also have people from other walks of life. We've had lawyers, we've had doctors, we've had policemen, we've had folks. We got a mini medical camp where we have physicians come in and set up a table and exhibits and talk to the kids in case they might want to go into the medical field. A few years ago, when there was a lot of civil unrest and police were being portrayed as people to fear because of some of the things that were going on in the country, we had some policemen to come in and talk to the kids. Come in uniform. Let them see you. Let them feel you.
Real impact,
let them know
man.
that they're not to be feared. So we try to cover a lot of different areas with our boys and girls over the course of the week. And then, of course, we do teach a lot of basketball. We play a lot of basketball because our goal is to make sure that they grow that skill, which is why they're there. But it's important that we use that time for other things too.
That is amazing to hear. And, what locations are your camps at this year, and where can people go to register to be a part of such an impactful event?
Our camps start on Monday, coming up July 15th. We will be at West Bloomfield High School. We've been there many years. It's a great facility, and they've always been very welcoming and supportive of our efforts. So West Bloomfield camp is next week. The following week, we will be at Southfield's University Academy High School, and simultaneously, the United Wholesale Mortgage Sports Complex in Pontiac will be there. So I'll be jumping back and forth. I'm at every camp every day. I want to have that impact. I want the kids to see and feel me. And if you want to register for these camps, you can do it simply by going to GregoryKelser.com. I always say not Greg, GregoryKelser.com/basketball. It'll take you right there, GregoryKelser.com/basketball. And boys and girls ages 7 to 17 are welcome. The camps run from 9 to 2:30 each day. We also have a specialty camp in Detroit that we do. That'll be next week as well, but that's full. That's a community service effort on our part to provide that opportunity for the boys and girls in the city. But, the legacy of our camps are that we love it when people come back and say, hey, I attended your camp many, many years ago, and I learned this, and you talked this, and you said this, and it changed my life. It changed my attitude about education and so on and so forth, and it was very valuable in my life. It's not uncommon for someone 60 years old to come up and say they went to the basketball camp, because after all, when I first started, I was only 20, and the kids in that camp were 15, 5 years younger than me. I'm in my middle 60s now, so there it is.
Wow. Mr. Kelser, it's amazing to hear about all the non-basketball life lessons and things you're teaching at these camps, using basketball as the vessel to get the kids there and teaching them. Do you feel that's more and more important these days, not just with how society is, but also with NIL and college athletes? There's more focus on the specialty athlete, or on, plan A, plan B, and plan C is making it to the NBA or the major leagues or the NFL. This is actually teaching kids from 7 to 17 different life lessons. Is it becoming more important?
It's very important. We had a kid that attended our camp for 8 years, play in the NBA Finals that just ended. Jaden Hardy with the Dallas Mavericks attended our camp for 8 years. His father worked at the camp for over 20 years. We don't promise that we're going to make your child an NBA player, and we're not going to make your kid really anything. Your kid and your efforts at home as parents, that's what's going to push them and secure their successes. But what we like to do, we like to think that we play a little small part, because every experience has value. And we like to think that what we're able to provide enhances what you're hearing at home, what you're hearing in school. That's all geared towards your own development and helping you reach your best potential. So to your question, yes, it's essential, I think, because there are a lot of distractions out there. There are a lot of things pulling kids potentially in a bad direction. You know, there has to be an effort to keep everybody on the right track. So that's what we try to emphasize, and also encourage the kids. As we said, most of them are not going to play professional basketball or a professional sport of any kind, but that doesn't mean that they can't find great success in whatever field they choose to pursue. That's really the message that we convey each and every day. And as you indicated, basketball is the lure. That's what brings kids to the gymnasium. They're not always happy to find that they may have to go into the classroom an hour, during each day, but they end up at the end of the week saying, that was a lot of fun. We didn't expect that.
That's awesome. It's introducing them to a path that they might not have known prior. And it's not just telling them what they could do, but showing them as well, kind of leading by example. I absolutely love that. And, aside from the camps, I know another way that you make a huge impact in many people's lives is what you do alongside George Blaha. And I want to get into some Detroit Pistons talk on the other side of the break. But before that, I just wanted you to be able to talk about your longtime TV partner, George Blaha. And
if broadcasting was a plan of yours before you made it to the NBA, when did that become a thought?
That's a good follow. Yeah.
It's funny how things happen. We always say, get the most education that you possibly can, because on that journey, you're going to learn things that are going to be critical, regardless to, again, whatever field you go in, because of the perseverance and the determination and dedication that it takes to exceed in school and to get a degree, if that is to be the case. So I graduated with a social science degree in criminal justice. I was thinking about becoming an attorney. I never did that because I met someone in broadcasting during my senior year playing basketball at Michigan State during a press conference after one of our NCAA tournament games. I met someone who changed my life, who worked in broadcasting, became a friend, and became a mentor as well, taught me the ropes, and I decided right then that I wanted to work in broadcasting. But it was my work and effort to become to earn a degree at Michigan State that helped me with all the things that were going to be necessary to pursue the career in broadcasting that I, now enjoy, and I have enjoyed for over 40 years. You mentioned George Blaha. I met George when I was, and by the way, that gentleman, his name was Charlie Neal. Charlie Neal was a local sports anchor who lives in D.C. now, still works in the business, brought me to BET, which was my first broadcasting job. Wow. Yeah. BET. When he became sports director and I retired from the NBA, he brought me to BET, and that's where it all started. But I met George Blaha when I was 18 years old at Michigan State. He was doing Michigan State football. That's right. I never knew that I would work with him because he wasn't even doing NBA basketball when I first met him. He got the job a year later. He's been with the Pistons now for almost 50 years. George has also been very instrumental and helpful in my career because, as we know, he's an icon. He's a pro. He's very, very good at what he does, and I've learned a lot from him. And working beside him has been an honor and a pleasure. We're both very passionate about it, and I can see his level of preparation and all that goes into him providing a great broadcast, and I try to mimic that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Fred McLeod, the late Fred McLeod, who I worked with for 13 years. He said he had that same type of work ethic and that same kind of impression on me in terms of what it takes to enjoy longevity in this field because, it can't have turnover. I find that those that work the hardest and that continue to try to get better and better and better are the ones that last the longest. So I've learned from some of the best in the business.
It's amazing to hear your journey, especially with the journey that we're all on. Now, I know everybody here is they try to be as prepared. That guy there, Flannel Sam, he definitely sets the bar. Yeah. He sets the bar here at the network. Very well prepared gentleman. But this is a lot of good stuff. The chat, they are really ecstatic and appreciative of the impact and the attention to what you do in the community. So I'm glad that is something that's resonating just beyond the sports of it all. But I know we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons. We're going to go to break, and then we get back. We got to talk to the legend, Greg Kelser, about the Detroit Pistons, man. But first, let me tell you about Swiss Insurance. Now more than ever, it is critical for you to have your insurance reviewed. Hey, welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We appreciate you guys for choosing to kick off today with the Wake Up Woodward crew. As the legend Greg Kelser also.
You keep calling me legend. I'm gonna go home and tell my wife.
You are the legend, bro.
I'm gonna go home and tell her I'm a legend and see what she says.
You know what? No, I'm not gonna try that. I'm not gonna try that at all. I know my wife loves me, but she ain't gonna lie to me.
Right.
So, but thank you guys, chat family, for being engaging, for staying tapped in, and as I always say, being on one word to Eduardo O'Neal. Go on ahead and smash that like button for the Woo crew and for Greg Kelser. Let's jump back into the scene.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Like I said, hearing about your connection with Earl Kuron, George Blaha, everything that you want to do as it relates to the camps and your journey in media. It's been an awesome thing to hear so far. And we got to jump into Detroit Pistons conversation as well. You've seen a lot of Detroit Pistons basketball, and I think one of the things I like a lot about you as an analyst is you don't mince your words. You're very, very real, and you get right to the truth of the matter with the Detroit Pistons. And obviously, the last couple of years have not been good. I just wanted your kind of quick take on what they were and kind of what you're seeing in this transition to Trajan Langdon.
I think last year was truly a very, very tough experience for everybody that was involved in it. Not just the players on the floor and the coaches, we as broadcasters, but just everybody in the building, everybody affiliated. It was a tough year because no one saw that coming. The year began with a lot of enthusiasm, expectations. We thought that, with Monty Williams coming in as new coach, a few new players, that they would begin to make a path towards play-in or playoff contention.
Yeah.
And then the season started wonderfully. I remember after the first 3 games, hopes were incredibly high.
Yeah.
After they go down to Miami and nearly beat the Heat in a great game, and then go to Charlotte and went on the road and come back home and beat the Bulls in their opener. They're 2-1. They were they seemed to be doing it with defense first.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the bottom just fell out. We lost to Portland. I think we lost to maybe OKC or something, and we were on our way to a 28-game losing streak. Who could have ever have envisioned that? It still seems, unreal to even say that, 28-game losing streak.
Pistons, man.
Yeah. So it started very difficult, and then we started losing players, and we just couldn't keep a firm lineup in there steady, and it got even worse. And when the season 6 months to marinate on this, so everybody should be working hard to get better and come into camp healthy and ready to get it going. I still believe in this team, and after what we saw yesterday and what's happening right now with the new leadership, I'm encouraged. I left the building, and you're right. You hear that same thing all the time. Every time there's a press conference introducing a new coach or a new GM or a new president, it's usually always the same expressions. But there was something that felt a little different because maybe of the stoicism that we saw in the faces of the gentlemen that were on the podium.
Yeah.
Making no promises, acknowledging that there's a lot of work to be done. But they seem to have a clear path and view and plan for making it happen, and hopefully sooner than later. So, listening to J.B. Bickerstaff and, of course, Trajan Langdon yesterday, I left there thinking, okay, let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Kelser, not to focus on the losing too much, but I just have sort of one final question. How thin is that line where a young team, young players, the line between being deflated or feeling defeated versus using that losing as motivation? I know when you were drafted to the Pistons, it wasn't like Dick Vitale was the coach, if I remember correctly. It's not like it was the most winning environment at that time. It took a little bit of time. How does this young team toe that line of being defeated versus using it as motivation to never happen again?
Well, I speak to you from experience. I had the same thing happen to me. Coming off a national championship at Michigan State, I'm drafted by the Pistons, who were in a rebuild, and we only won 16 games. And I can tell you, when you lose that many games, I could easily go back and find you 10 wins for the Pistons this past season, because there were at least 10 games that they could have, should have won.
That's facts.
And it was the same thing with us back in '79. We were a young team. We had 5 rookies on the team. We had 2 more players that were in their second year. So we weren't going anywhere in a 23-team league. You weren't going to win with youth like that, and we knew it, but we worked hard. We gave it the best we could, and we tried to stay together. This team this year did stay together. They still pulled for each other. There was no dissension or cracking or splintering or anything or finger pointing, anything like that. That's good. That speaks to the leadership that was there that kept that intact, because when you're losing, it can easily fragment. Most of the time, it does. But the line you speak of is a very fine line. So fine that if you go back 2-3 years, we had a game in Oklahoma City late in the season. Oklahoma had a bunch of guys out there you'd never heard of. They were trying to map out their future and what they were going to do. And the Pistons were pretty much in the same boat. I mean, I really had to have a big roster in front of me to know who these players were, because many of them on the Oklahoma City side I had not heard of. Oklahoma City has the best record in the Western Conference last year. 2-3 years later, okay? So that's how fine that line is, and that's why you have hope that it doesn't have to stay this way for very long if you're a Pistons fan. You make the right decisions, you catch some luck, you get some good health, you make a couple of good drafts and that sort of things. Things can turn around in basketball maybe much quicker than they can in some of the other sports.
Yeah, and speaking of that fine line, you mentioned there were about 10 games where the Pistons maybe let it slip away. Some of their problems with their youth or coaching or whatnot maybe cost them some wins. Do you believe the Pistons brought in the right players, the right coach, the right president of basketball associations to help get those 10 wins, plus maybe some more?
I certainly hope so, and yes, I do think so. There's one loss that stands out in my mind and still bothers me, because it happened right at midcourt in front of George and myself in New York late in the season. There was a foul that occurred right there as DiVincenzo just ramrodded Asar Thompson off of a loose ball. Pistons had a lead. It was in the waning seconds of the game. It was a clear foul. The NBA admitted it afterwards, but that played to the respect that you don't get when you're a struggling basketball team. Asar Thompson was blown up football style off the ball, no call. New York gets the basketball and then scores and gets an and one at the bucket with under 10 seconds to go to win that basketball game. That should not have happened. Now, that was on the officials in my mind, but there were plenty other things that the Pistons themselves were responsible for, whether it was not getting a key rebound, maybe missing a free throw or, a shot that they would normally make that could have spelled the difference between winning and losing, missing a defensive assignment, whatever. I know they lost 2 games, I believe, on tap-ins, where if they could have got a rebound, tap-ins at the buzzer. So, again, easily could go back and find your 10 wins. But, yeah, the people coming in, I like what they're doing. They're mixing really good, solid veterans with the youth that they have, and the veterans can still play. They still got a lot of juice left. They can perform on the court. But additionally, these guys that they're bringing in are used to playing, not missing games. That's a good lesson for the young guys to see and be around and experience. These guys going out there, regardless of whether they are nicked up a little bit, they go out, they play, they perform, they're professional. That's what you want your young players to see on a day in, day out basis in the practice facility, how they gear themselves up, how they prepare to get ready, how they come with the right attitude. So that's why you try and mix veterans with the young players, and you hope that it mixes and meshes the way it's supposed to. Houston's doing that very thing right now, and they're having success with it.
They are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Greg, thanks again for joining us today, man. Cade Cunningham just signed his rookie max, 5 years, $224 million. And last year, you can just see the toll that the season took on this kid, man, with all the losing and everything going on. But even through all of that, he still stuck through it the best he could at the podium and things of that nature. Now, Trajan wants to build this the right way, and I'm in total agreement to that. But on the same token, you never want to tell a Detroit fan to be patient, you know. So while Trajan wants to not cut corners and build this thing the right way, I do feel like there needs to be some kind of urgency to not, you know, let the losing continue too long, because you have a star like Cade Cunningham now on a rookie max contract that could ask out, before the contract is over. Where do you feel the balance needs to be between trying to accelerate this process, but also taking your time and doing it the right way?
It's a delicate blend, but you have to, I think you have to understand that where patience is required, you can't resist it. You gotta go with it. Now, if something materializes that can help you accelerate, but not derail the progress, then you make that decision at that time.
Yeah.
I like the approach. I like the fact that they're not promising playoffs next year. They don't have to get to the playoffs for the season to be a tremendous success.
Yeah.
But we want to see that progress.
Yeah.
You know, think about the Lions and what they did year before last.
Yeah.
You know, they started off miserably.
You did.
And then they got it going. And then people got a little bit more excited about it. And they finished that season beautifully a couple of years ago. I remember they won that game in Green Bay, kept them out of the playoffs, and won in a place that's very tough for the Lions to win over the decades. And then they were able to parlay that into what happened last year. Same thing with the Pistons. There's no magic elixir that you can sprinkle over everybody and have it and guarantee that it will change. But here's the thing I find. When you start to get a few wins, when you start to experience a little success, now you start to expect those wins. And even in the most dire situations, you start to believe that we're gonna achieve. You know, we're gonna be okay. It's the same thing with losing. When you lose a few games and then people get hurt and then the bottom starts to become a little shaky, you almost expect something bad to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can happen. I think it can happen fast, but you have to be smart, and leadership has to be very, very wise in knowing when to accelerate and maybe when to pump the brake just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the responsibility that Trajan Langdon and his staff now has. And as far as Cade Cunningham, I'm very happy they signed him. I think he's an absolute beast. I think he's a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, he demonstrated that when he played, especially late in the season, and they were going nowhere. But when he was out on the floor, man, he was fun to watch because he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And the things that he's able to do with the ball in his hands in the mid-range, nobody can guard him. The one thing I say he has to improve on his ball care, because he's going to draw double teams. He's got to be able to pass out of those double teams without the ball being deflected or stolen. I'd like to see him get maybe a few more rebounds, but he can pass the basketball. He can score it. And on nights when his three-point shot is going, then 30 points is pretty much guaranteed.
Nice.
I love to hear that. And you know what, Greg? We got one more question. We got our Sparty in the house, JB Smooth.
Go
What up,
green,
though,
JB.
Mr. Kelser, thank you so much once again, as KG said, for joining us here today. And let me tell you right now, it's just an uphill battle because I'm the only Spartan on this show.
Damn.
That makes you unique.
I know, right? So every single day, you don't understand how much of an uphill battle it is. But I want to take you back for a moment and just show you a picture of not only yourself, but you and Magic Johnson back in 1979 at MSU. And my question to you is, Are you still in connection with Magic Johnson? Do you all still talk? Have you seen him lately? What's new with Magic Johnson?
It's probably been maybe maybe a year since I last saw Ervin. And yes, we are still very much in contact. All my teammates, we're very close. We experienced something that is rare and unique, and it bonded us for life. So, I might talk to Jay Vincent one day. I might talk to Terry Donnelly another day. I might talk to Ervin. I might talk to Ron Charles. We were all very close. And that picture that you just showed was taken at the Brody complex on the basketball court. We had just gotten brand new Mercedes.
Really?
Okay, Greg.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Stun on them.
Yeah, we had just bought brand new 1979 Mercedes 450 SELs.
Woo.
Mine was a beautiful shade of red, and his was a powder blue. And we were very happy, proud, and so we decided, a photographer got with us, and we rode around campus taking pictures. We took pictures in front of Jennison Fieldhouse. We took pictures on the basketball court. And we didn't know that those pictures were going to be in pretty much every national publication the next day. They were in newspapers all across the country with the heading, this is what NBA stardom or basketball, a great future in basketball can provide. And believe it or not, I still have mine. I still have my car, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 45 years. It looks just like it does on that picture, and it runs beautifully.
That is
That's
awesome.
amazing.
This has been awesome, man.
That's
to have you on and kind of hear about the man behind just the basketball. This has been.
If I had
an
known you were
awesome
going to show
segment,
that
brother.
picture, I would have driven it and put it right out front.
Wow, we have to set something up.
We might
like
have to
that.
come back and
We got to do
Right.
a round two. We got to do a round two. We'll definitely come by and check out the camps as well. And it's cool to hear about you and Magic. I know you expounded on that at St. Cecilia when they were doing their kind of rededication to the renovation of the gym in that area. It was just cool to hear all the different legends, including you and Magic, all of the different relationships that started right in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it was an awesome story to hear.
Yeah, I met Ervin on the steps of St. Cecilia.
Yeah.
We met each other for the very first time, shook hands right there on the steps. I was a senior in high school. He was a sophomore. We met, we greeted each other. I knew who he was. He knew who I was. One of the things that Michigan State said to me when they were recruiting me was that our goal is to sign you in 1975, sign Ervin Johnson in 1979, and we believe that if we're able to do that, you guys will win a national championship before you leave. And it happened.
Wait. So they knew. They called the shots with Special K,
Yeah.
Magic Johnson. They knew that was the formula, and it worked out.
It did work out. I mean, it's easier said than done, but Ervin was right there in Lansing, so they were well aware of him as a high schooler. If this were today, Ervin wouldn't play high school basketball. He'd go straight to the pros because he could have done it then. He was that good.
Wow. Can I take in one last Pistons question related to your time at Michigan State, too? Because you were, if I'm not mistaken, the first Big Ten player ever with 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds as a forward. I want to ask about Jalen Duren. What advice would you give, or what's the next step in his game? He's so young, but there's so much potential. He does have a tall, playmaking guard to get him the rock. Well, from your experience, what would you say to Jalen Duren, or what is that next step?
I would encourage him to watch as much film as he can of Miami's Bam Adebayo because they are similar.
We just said this yesterday.
Oh, did you?
I love this.
We did. That's crazy.
Their bodies are similar.
Let's go.
Their skills are similar. Both have great jumping ability, big hands. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Healthiness.
Hay fever in here? No, I think that the sky really is the limit for Jalen Duren because he's gifted, he's athletic. He doesn't ever have to be a three-point shooter because Bam isn't. I think Bam maybe made 5 or 6 three-pointers last year. One of them took the Pistons down.
We were there.
Yeah.
We were in the building.
That was the 04 night.
That's what I'm
2004
talking
Pistons
about. See, stuff like crazy stuff like that.
You could have held the ball till the end of the game for the last shot.
He took the shot too early.
Yeah, he did.
There you go.
Learning lessons.
Yeah, learning lessons. So I think that Duren can do the same thing. I think he can be a great rim protector. He does have to maybe improve his footwork around the basket, understanding what is a good shot, what is not. Continue to work on the offensive glass, and he could be an all-star. in this league. He's young. He's only like 20. So I think it all will depend on how hard he's willing to work, study, and put the time in to make himself one of the best players in the league.
Let's go. I like this, man.
So great.
Community impact, hope for our Detroit Pistons, and just being able to talk to an absolute legend. I keep saying that. In Greg Kelser. You know, we're going to hold you to it now. We got to have you back for a round 2. And
We'll do
next
it.
time you got to bring that Mercedes.
I will.
Yes.
It's got to be in the spring, summer, or fall though. It sees no snow.
Let's go.
Doing it
Let's
right.
go. He already
Doing
knows.
it right.
That's how you know that he is from Detroit. I love it. Thank you for your time, Greg.
Thank you, guys.
This has been awesome.
I've enjoyed it.
Hey, chat family, definitely smash those like buttons. I'll put whatever emoji you can to support Greg Kelser giving us his time this morning. Also, make sure you guys stay tapped in with the basketball camps as well. I have that email address as well, or the website to sign up, gregorykelser.com/basketball.
Gregory Kelser.
Gregory Kelser. Yes. Can't wait, man. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh man, yo, this has been awesome. I don't even know what we're supposed to do right now. What
Let's just cut the commercial. We'll double up.
Yeah.
We'll double up on the way back.
I got you.
Yeah.
That
Thank
works.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.